Hello, this is Kim Stenberg. I'm going to finish this portrait today. This is the photograph reference I'm using. It's an African American child. I don't know how old he may be. Anywhere between 3 and 5. Hard to tell. And this is the drawing, graphite drawing I did. Of him. I don't know, it took maybe an hour and a half or something like that. So this is a really good way of getting to know the subject. So, and I did go this far in the class, watercolor portraits class. And I promised to my students that I'll finish the portrait and make a video, post it on YouTube so they can watch it anytime. Okay, let's get started. I'm gonna concentrate on the face. The way I did it was I drew it, I actually traced it with the graphite transfer paper because I already had drawn the face, just to save time, on Arch's 140-pound cold press paper. The size of the portrait is 12 by 9. I wetted the negative space, the background, and then painted the background that suggested greens and kind of peachy tone, yellow tone, natural tone. I think the picture was taken outside in natural light, beautiful light. So I did that, and then I painted the hair and the top. This is just first layer of the sweater he's wearing. The hair, how did I do it? I sewed out of a skin showing through in the scalp, so that is basically cadmium red. I have a color called Rose Doré by Winsor Newton because skin is showing through as a base color. And then I dropped Daniel Smith Piemontite Genuine, which is a beautiful granulating purplish brown. And to darken this side, light is coming from our right, so to darken the hair a little bit here and there, I also charged Daniel Smith Moon Glow, which is beautiful, neutral, dark purple. So I don't think I need to do much for the hair. I'm very pleased. So don't go so crazy with the African American hair texture with all those ringlets and stuff. Okay, to the face. So I don't know how long it'll take. So maybe another hour, and I'll just focus on the face. The texture of the sweater. Don't biggie. Just suggest the texture. So hopefully about an hour. So this is after 2 layers of skin tone, the mother color for skin tone for all races, ethnic groups. For me is cadmium red. Any brand will do. Cadmium red is kind of scarletish, orange red. It's very opaque, but you don't need to use much. And I used, because he has, African American skin tone has a lot of purples and blues. In this case, you can see the sky reflected onto highlights, and for those I use Cobalt Turquoise Light by Winsor Newton. And I have also color called this color. It's a Naples yellowish reddish by Schminke, German brand. Naples yellow. It's not Naples yellow, it's Naples yellow, reddish. Only Schminka has a color, SCHMINCK, something like that, Schminka. Very expensive, very opaque. It's almost like gouache, but I don't, you mix it with water so it doesn't come out too opaque. Okay, so that's where I use it. It really looks like foundation color. And for this purplish color, you have to be very careful not to push it too red or too purple. And my favorite purple is this purple, magenta by Sennelier. It's called Helios Purple, HELIOS, Helios Purple by Sennelier. Is a French brand. Okay, so I did 2 layers and I started developing the eye because I can't stand the painting a portrait with a blank eyes. Okay, I'm gonna clean my mixing area. My mixing area is butcher's block. Butcher's block. It's metal, it's enameled, and you can wipe clean and colors look gorgeous. And this is the smallest size I use. Lots of my students have seen it. And the palettes I use, they're tiny because I go outside often and I have to drag all this I have 3 palettes, 4 palettes, watercolor boxes, 2 classes, so I just switched to this small size. I found this circular palette. It's by De Laroni. Can you see it? Aquafine. I found it at Michael's. The colors, they're student gray, so I took them out and replaced them with artist quality paint. Most of them are Daniel Smith and Winsor Newton, and occasional Holbein, Sennelier, and Schminka. That's it, 5 brands. So you won't be able to see the palette. I'll say which colors I'm using because I want you to see the reference. Yeah, the camera is so close to the painting so you can see really up close. It's gonna be no editing, no fast forwarding. Portrait painting takes lots of patience, and I didn't work on this painting since Thursday. So when I start a painting session, I have to warm up a little bit. So what do? I start from painting easiest part. So I'm gonna start from his neck. It's just very dark tone, right? On our left side. Children's head, a child's head, different proportions from adult's head. This is called facial mass, and from here around the cranium is called cranial mass, and this is very small in proportion to the cranial mass, because the facial features haven't fully mature yet. Nose is small, hardly any chin there. The nose bridge not fully developed. The jaw angles very soft and round. Everything is soft and round. And look at this. Here to here, you see how big? Usually the general proportional rule is from eye line to the chin and from eye line to the crown, not hairline, is about equal. See how much more there is? And his cranium is just, yeah. And look at the neck. Another big thing is difference, singularity of a child's anatomy is neck is short and narrow. Do not make child's neck long and thick. Then he'll look like a high school football player. And the eyes. We are born with the spheres, the eyeballs of adult size, and the eye openings haven't quite matured yet. That is why children's eyes look huge, because these irises don't grow. The rest of the face will grow. The nose will grow, mouth, ears, everything else, you know, but not the irises, the eyeballs themselves. So the proportion is very different from adults, especially young children. The eyes look huge, and the hardly any chin, and the neck is very short and thin. You know, newly born children, babies hardly have any necks, and you know, they cannot hold their necks, and they are very scary for new moms. Okay, so I said I'm gonna start here, and that may look black to you, but to me it looks purple, brownish purple. So I'm gonna use my favorite brown. I didn't have any favorite brown until I found this color called Piemontite, P-I-E-D P-I-E-M-O-N, Piemontite, T-I-T, Piemontite, genuine. It granulates. Soft purplish brown. So I'll have to do many more layers, but it's better to do layers with plenty of water than hit it hard and, you know, hope that you don't have to glaze. That's not a good approach. Okay, so I see as the neck turns, you know, everything is round. The neck is a cylinder. For a child, it's a very short cylinder. This side is a little blue to me, so I'm gonna use cobalt blue. I use cobalt blue a lot. Wow, that is very blue, right? But there is a reddish color already. So immediately I have to use some cadmium red. Cadmium red, you can mix it on the paper. Cadmium red. Yeah, that blue comes from sky. Okay, and I'm gonna extend the cadmium red so it's variegated and also gets a little lighter. Blue is darker inherently than red, so this is neck and shoulder. It's slightly light, a considerably lighter tone. I'll worry about that later. So now I have done that. This side does not look terribly darker than the light side, right? And that protruding, that thing is tendon. There are two of them, both on each side. So let's do something about that. You know, I don't usually use granulating colors on the face itself, but on the neck it's a different matter. So I'm going to use Moonglow by Daniel Smith, that beautiful granulating dark. Maybe that is too purple. Maybe. So I'm going to use a little bit of that Piemontite genuine. All the genuine colors by Daniel Smith. The granulate. So this is layer 3 of the neck. Or is it second layer? There isn't a lot of neck to paint, so that's good. So this, when I first put down cobalt blue, it looked horribly blue, but now it looks natural. Here, there's a lot of that purplish thing is moon glow. That's my students. But moon glow and became addicted to it. My apologies. What can I say? Sometimes good colors makes your life really fun. Now I'm gonna paint this ear because I'm still warming up, you know. I cannot, you know, attack the eye or eyes or mouth as the first thing, you know, after 3 days of break. So you can see his right ear, the left side to us, is considerably darker than his left ear, that is the right side ear. It gets very confusing to, you know, verbalize what I'm painting because it's mirror image we are seeing, right? So from the get-go, that's actually first layer. I saw light is coming from our right, and this his left side ear is in shadow, and you have to get that suggestion. Do not just give one same wash, you know, quote unquote skin tone wash all over the face and say, oh, I'll do all the modeling later. What if there's no later? You know, somebody said, famous painter Richard Schmidt, he paints both in watercolor and oil. His old portraits are just to die for. He said, paint as if you know, you may not get back to it. So even if it's unfinished, it should look beautiful. I think my unfinished painting looks really interesting here. Don't you think? Although he has only one eye. So from the beginning, from the get-go, I start modeling, thinking in terms of light and dark, warm and cool. You know, if you have been with me, you know. Even edges, soft edge, hard edge, it should be all suggested. Okay, so I'm gonna do this ear, the light ear, the right side ear. So the mother color for my skin tone is, I said, cadmium red. So it's just a pure cadmium red. It's very, very diluted with water. That's why it's so light. Yeah, you probably is not aware. Cadmium red can be so pretty, so peachy. It is. And this is helix, the outer loop, and this inner half circle is called anti-helix. And that there's this dark shape, right? You don't have to know all the names. There's no reason to torture yourself with all the anatomical names, but you should be sensitive to the shapes. By the way, don't forget to spritz your dried up paints at the beginning. I did earlier, but everything dry. So, and I'll go around and say, well, your palette is so dry, and students will say, oh, I spritzed earlier, an hour ago. Well, spritz again. Okay? So I'm just gonna use whatever colors I have. This is not a beginning class, you know. Beginners have a very limited palette. This is a maroon color, Parylene maroon. I think the Winsor Newton and Daniel Smith are pretty similar. I have 3 Parylene colors, maroon, violet, and green. I love them. And recent discoveries. They are all kind of neutralized, very deep. Not bright colors, they're all dark. Okay. And the lobe, this is lobe, right? Starts out red, and at the at the very tip, it's pretty dark, right? So that is piemontite genuine. And this will need probably more layers. Yep, many layers. So I was very wishful when I said an hour. So I may make it into 2 parts, because who knows how long it'll take to download the 2-hour long video onto YouTube. It may take 3 days. Oh dear. Okay, I'm gonna try the other side, the dark here. Okay, I don't dare fold this tape. Oh gosh, I see water. Like this, so you can see what I'm painting. So it's basically one value, pretty dark. It's almost as dark as the core shadow on the face. So, what color should I use? I think I can even use that is maroon perlin, and I can also try. Yeah, as I said, I don't really use a lot of granulating colors on the face itself, but ears, necks, they are sort of a peripheral. What's important is, well, they're in shadow, so texture, granulation, I don't think is too offensive. And what's important is getting the values right and color temperatures. Okay, there's that lobe, you see, a little lighter. So I want to lift, and I can just use cad red. Cad red is much lighter in value than, let's say, piemontite genuine. Do you see? And that little thingy, what is it called? Comes and goes. My teacher, Danny Dawson at the Art League School, said in the class, really funny story about one of her mentors. Because she studied with Nelson Shanks, but she studied with other masters too. Well, all these great master portrait painters have studied anatomy in depth, know all the names of bones and muscles and whatnot. But his aging master said, they used to be my best friends, but I don't remember their names anymore. I have studied these names, but they come and go. One day I remember, and another day I may not remember them. It's already happening to me. My husband says there are tests. I can get myself tested whether I have Parkinson or Alzheimer's, because I'm not remembering things. I said, well, I'd rather not know. I think I did not get enough sleep. That's what it is. I only slept maybe 5.5 hours last night. Okay, I saw this ear, the right side ear. His left ear is just too pale, so I'm giving it a little glazing of cad red. Remember cad red? Students are always surprised. Oh, cad red! I never thought of that. Yep, now you know. If you have a cadmium scarlet, that's very similar. Okay, so what do you think? I didn't do much with the ears. Ears don't really do anything in terms of expression or likeness. but they have to be placed in a proper place, and they have to be in proper size, and just suggest them. But they really have to be indicated, otherwise, you know, you look like Van Gogh or Van Gogh's child. So ears are usually between located between eyebrows and tip of nose. So his ears, you know, proportionately are almost adult size. I mean, they'll continue to grow as his facial mass continue to spread, you know. I mean, the rest of the head will continue to grow because child's heads are obviously much smaller than adult heads, but this facial mass grows much faster until like the end of, until maybe 14, 15. That's when the proportion of facial mass and the cranial mass, you know, the forehead and the back of the head, make the adult proportion of a 1 to 2. Wow, there's science for you. Okay, so ears are looking good. I may just do a little really dark concha, whatever that thing, canal that goes inside, indicate, but it's still damp, so don't go in there. You know, you want to achieve the soft edge, so you go in there, but sometimes your brush is too wet and you end up with a cauliflower in the ear. Whew. Okay, what shall I do now? Maybe I'll start from here. Maybe I'm warmed up enough. I certainly talked enough. So, you know, this is my mixing area, butcher's block. So let's say I'm gonna use Cad red, which is how red it is. So if you want to, this is red. I use this much. See how nice it is on that enameled white surface. If I want to dull this and make it a little brown, well, am I gonna use burnt sienna? I don't really use, I mean, I can use burnt sienna. This is by the burnt sienna by Daniel Smith, which is a lot pinker than ordinary, usual run-of-the-mill burnt sienna by, you know, Winsor Newton and blah blah blah. I really don't like them, but it's not that color really. It's a lot redder. And if you want to, let's say, neutralize it a little bit, that is, make it a little browner. Red and green, they are complementaries, right? So just add a little green. In this case, you can use sap green. Sap green is a really good color. I don't like the color for whatever reason, so I'm using this beautiful cobalt green. I don't know, I seem to like cobalt green. Okay, you see how similar? So you compare that, my concoction of lovely brown, cat red, and cobalt green, tiny bit, and burnt sienna, my favorite burnt sienna by Daniel Smith. This, my concoction is closer to nature. So while I was jabbering, the wash is drying. So the hair is all about softness, so you don't stop there. You extend it with a clean brush. You rinse it like this. Please do not make hair like a helmet. He's not wearing a helmet, you know. He has a beautiful soft hair, just soft. You want to touch it, right? Okay, I see pinkish purplish color, and that is the color I love, adore. It is this color. I mentioned this, Sennelier Helios purple. Ordinarily on a Caucasian skin tone, I would have used permanent rose, but he has a darker skin tone, and darker skin tones requires more layers to get the richness. I think that is why I love painting dark skin tone portraits, and it just takes more time because you have to do more layers. And I'm there, extend it, clean brush, so there's no hairline. Do you see any hairline? Like, you know, please, whether you are painting an animal, a pet, or a person, please, hair should be soft edges. Highlight, right? Highlight. I don't think I need to do much, but I'm gonna soften the edges. Soften the edges. How do you do that? With a clean brush, not dripping wet, but just damp. Here, this highlight, I like it. Here there is a little that yellowishness that could be this color. Schminke. Naples yellow, reddish. Do not buy Naples yellow. It is unnatural. I mean, for skin tone. Everybody looks like he or she has a jaundice. But reddish by Schminke. It's just gorgeous color. Here I think it's the same color as there. Same value too. This area, he hasn't really developed it. Complete nose bridge. Has a little tone there, darker. There's a dip. This is a brow bone, right? There's a dip into the socket, the orbit. That's what's causing that value change. So do not think you are painting a portrait, just think you are painting a series of interlocking unusual shapes or simple shapes, and just observe until you can't stand it anymore, and then you walk like this. That is Helios purple. It's too purple, right? So I'm gonna use, because he has such dark skin tone, I'm gonna just boldly use granulating paint, that Piemontite genuine. It's a brown color, and this is just burnt sienna. Oh, so orangey. Even Daniel Smith color is orange. So I'm mixing, as you may have noticed if you're watching carefully. I do a lot of mixing on the paper, and I'm using plenty of water, but not, I'm not flooding. Otherwise you'll have so many cauliflowers, he will look monstrous. Now, a few here and there, it happens at the beginning. It all disappear. That above brows, both sides you have highlights, right? This side is very, very light, because the light is coming from our right. All this greenness, I think, is caused by the greens that surround him. Oh gosh, his whole head is reflecting all ambient colors. Okay, the shadow side, there is still lighter, muted highlight. So you have to observe that. Okay, this is what is on the palette. I think it's a pale green maroon. I should speak up. A little hard edge forming. So, and I see a lot of that Helios purple color. Yeah, if I seem to be using a lot of unusual colors, well, my apologies. Everybody has favorite palette. You don't have to buy them. Helios purple is basically magenta. There is no really substitute for that Piemontite genuine. It's not anywhere similar to sepia or burnt umber. So if you want to mix it, you will need to start with some kind of brown and some kind of purple. But as you may realize, if you start painting, there is a Piemontite genuine. When you start painting portrait, there really is no time to mix all these colors, because you don't want hard edges forming somewhere in the middle of cheek, anywhere. And if you have that right approximate color already on your palette, it saves your nerves. I may even put a little cobalt blue. African American skin tones or African skin tones have a lot of blues and lots of violets, purples. So I may pull that cobalt blue into the hair like that because it's quite dark, right? So you won't have any helmet hair, no hairline. So I'm seeing the subtle, soft-edged shapes, series of shapes, and most shapes in the face are, let me add a little cobalt blue, soft edged, but they are, this is a cobalt blue. You have to be very careful when you go back to wet area, because if your brush is too wet, yeah, I'm getting lots of granulation. I don't know if I like it or not, but I have a feeling that I'll have to do more glazing, so I'm not really worried. Okay. Yep. That's perlin maroon. You can gently push pigments too. And here, it's considerably lighter, right? Core shadow, foam shadow, and this is reflected light. Core shadow comes down, connects here, along the chin, from temple, like this. This is foam shadow. So you should be able to see the subtle value changes. If you don't see it, you can't paint it. Learning to paint is learning to see. That is cadmium red. That's the foam shadow. And cadmium red is a mid-tone color. See, you put it down, there is how much lighter it appears. It looks like a ambient light is coming from this angle, and if you miss that lovely, yummy reflected light along the cheek, you are missing the opportunity to make the head turn roundness. So now look at it. This is frontal plane. You have side planes, and there's, I call it in-between planes. This is in-between plane. This is side plane, frontal plane, and our head is not boxy like this, right? It slopes and like this, right? So this is frontal plane. This is what I call in-between plane, and then side plane along the temple, right? So I think this has to be a little darker. It's still damp, so don't go back. Leave it alone. Gosh, his eye, that blank eye, is really scary. So let's do something about it. This is the eye, the whole eye orbit as a unit. So I did indicate his brows with that piemontite genuine. So you do not want to just paint the brows. You paint the brows and immediately you extend it, because that dark tone continues. Not in the center, because the upper lid itself is rounded, right? See the brows as shapes, not as lashes. I mean the hair. There are a collection of many hairs, but don't get obsessive with hairs. Look at the shapes, big shapes first, and then you can indicate a few like this along the edges. Okay, this eye socket is how dark it is. I think I can even get away with moon glow. It is that dark. I would not use these colors on a Caucasian skin tone. It's so fair. But African American or African skin tones are so much richer, darker. So there you go. Suddenly it's looking more three-dimensional, right? So the trouble has to do with the painting, sculpture has its own, I'm sure, challenges. Painting, any media is, we are painting on a paper or canvas or whatever. And the things we are painting are, this is moon glow, three-dimensional. They are round, right? So we have to use all kinds of techniques. If it's drawing or painting too, you have to use perspectival drawing to make the form round. So I'm using moon glow. Pupils, any race, pupils are black, and his eyes are hazel. So how did I do that eye? I used a color called Perylene green. Yeah, Perylene green. On the palette, it looks. This is the color. It like this. It looks like black, right? It's not black. It's very dark, neutral green. It looks like this. So it has some green. Hazel eyes have greens and ambers. So do I use sap green or cobalt green or any such greens? No, the eyes look so unnatural. I use this very deep, neutral green, and watercolor dries so much lighter, right? So I think I need to do a little layer. And by the way, this is upper lash line. That's the one of the darkest lines in a head. And I don't usually hold brush like this, but when you're doing a sensitive detail treatment, I hold the brush like a pencil. And I'm using size 6 brush. It's amazing. I do have it size 2, 4, but I don't use them because there is no reason for it. This is a Recap. It's Israeli brand, REKAB 346 Kolinsky. It's a Kolinsky Sable, size 6. Apparently, the company is still around, but this particular brush seems to be unavailable. So, for that amber color, I used Burnt Sienna and I didn't use ochre, yellow ochre. It looks like it, but watercolor dry is so much lighter. So this iris is still damp, right? So I'm charging just tiny bit. Don't let it all drip. Watercolor is about learning to control how much moisture in the brush and in the paper, and how much pigment, how much paint in the brush and in the paper. When you become a master of that, you are done. You can continue to develop your unique expressive style. Okay, I'm gonna use black, and I have two blacks, and I'm gonna use neutral tint. The pupil, not dark enough, right? Neutral tint is a cool black. You can use ivory black too. Ivory black is a warm black. This is, well, there are lashes too, but lots of it is the shadows cast by his lashes. I don't intend to paint his lashes. The moment you start drawing, painting lashes, suddenly the whole thing looks gimmicky. And very common mistake, I see it all the time, is drawing outline like an ancient Egyptian style. Please don't do that. What you see is, this is a lower lash line, and there is the highlight, the thickness, ledge. And there's a little warm skin tone, the blood color, kind of brownish color. So that is what I did here. And you have to show the thickness, and this is what? Tear duct, right? And the white of the eyes, they are not white. Has a lot of tone in it. So I use cobalt blue in the class. So I'm using various browns and reds because, you know, he's alive. Blood run through. So this is some kind of brown on the palette. You know, you have seen how I mix them. So if you indicate some kind of a lower lash, you could darken slightly like this, but never draw a line like you did with the upper lashes. Line. Never. Please. It's doesn't do you any good. Doesn't do your painting any good, that is. Okay, that is I think moon glow. So the lower lash and upper lashes are casting shadow on the entire eye. So I preserved the catchlight shapes. They are big. There's no reason to reach for your masking fluid. Please don't. You can very easily paint around that big shape. And look at that upper lid. Central area catches light, and because it's rounding, inner corner, outer corner, there are three planes: central plane and side planes. They are darker. If you indicate that with tone is what we have, right? The eyes will look three-dimensional. Look at that. There was a peregrine maroon. The other side is lighter, getting more light here. I'm painting both eyes all at the same time because, well, this side, his left side eye is much darker because it's in shadow, but the anatomy is the same. I didn't indicate that fold, right? Which is pretty much a line. So I may have to do more layers. So this is moon glow. His right side, his left ear, left eye. Yeah. And immediately put down a line. I know it's a line, but you should make it plain, plainer. P-L-A-N-E, plain. Planes. Now eyes are looking recessed, right? Not he doesn't have deep set eyes yet because he's still maturing. This his left eye, the right side eye, can be developed. That is Helios Purple by Senelia. It's too reddish maybe. Then I can use mixture of my brown and a little this piemontite brown. Connect that with his brows. This side brow is much lighter, right? Why? Because the light. Be sensitive to where the light is coming from. You do that right, the rest will just fall into place. This area is still damp. A little more moon glow. See, I'm not using really a lot of paint. Look at this. I'm not using a lot of paint. Slowly building layers. While one area is drying, I can work on another layer. I don't really have to use my heat tool. Yeah, I see a lot of granulation on this side, but I think it's okay. Wow, he just looks gorgeous. Looks very healthy. That's the thing. That's the key. Painting should look unlabored, unoverworked. Just the subject should look healthy and glowing. Okay, both eyes needs more work, like the iris. If you look, observe eyes, they are usually circled with that very dark outlines. Whatever color the eyes the subject has. And obviously I'm using still neutral tint. Pupils are all black. So this is, it starts as lashes and then becomes shadows cast by lashes. Like that. That looks better. Both eyes indicated. They will need more layers. Okay, next let's do the a little bit of a moon glow. You see eyeballs, perfect sphere. So as the eyeball turns, the sides, the corners are shadowed. Please remember that. Please, please, please. Like that. Same with the mouth corners, if the mouth is open, because subject is grinning, smiling, laughing. Okay. I did indicate the ledge thickness on the left side eye, but the corners, outer corner, should be shadowed. So I'm giving a little tone. And the ledge thickness should be obvious. And if you want to draw some kind of the lower lash line, it's here, and it shouldn't be dark, thick, ancient Egyptian style. And like that. And all of this very thin lines, they are caused by the orbit, the eye socket, the bone underneath. And as the person ages, they'll become permanent sagging, on the eye bags and all that. But he is so young. He is full of curiosity, innocence. Okay, I'm using piemontite brown. I repeat, if this were a Caucasian person, I would not use these colors. Maybe in the neck or hair, but not in the face. But he has a very dark skin tone, right? So this area is dried. I am adding more tone. This is core shadow, right? Core shadow is the darkest shadow. I can add a little more tone on the underside. And eyebrows is 3D. So the underside is darker. And this side is a little darker in this case. Yeah? Looking good. Looking good. Okay, I have a color code since I seem to be using lots of granulating paint. I have a color called Mineral Violet. It's by Holbein, my longtime favorite for about 20 years. This Mineral Violet, it's very warm, granulating color. Mineral, they call it mineral. Obviously, it's a ground up rock. They don't call it genuine. It's just the gimmick by Daniel Smith. While I'm at it, I can use the color. Purples and browns go beautifully together. I can use also Winsor Violet to indicate that real dark shape in the ear. I will not use Winsor Violet on the face though. Winsor colors are too staining, too aggressive to use on any area of the skin, either neck or face. It's just too aggressive, too staining, too hard to work with. This Mineral Violet is a very soft color. All the mineral based colors are like that. Very heavy, they don't push other colors. They just settle where you put them. You can move them around with your brush. I'll show you. So, I was painting this side. I may suddenly work on here instead of think about it and move on, because I may never come back or I may forget, Sometimes I never get back to finish. I have some unfinished paintings in this book because one was home practice. Or I lost interest. I generally finish a painting, but there are always exceptions. Okay, Moonglow. Come out, Moonglow. Let's come and play. Moonglow is very heavy, granular in color, pre-mixed by Daniel Smith, 3 colors. So I'm making this part a little darker and extend it. Hair is all about softness. So I added some purple. Browns and violet, purples, they go really, they play well together. I'm sorry. You didn't see anything. You missed it. Yeah, I tried to raise the camera, but I couldn't. I'm still learning. Baby steps. And at least I learned to use entire screen. While I'm at it, let's darken some part of the hair. That's Moonglow. And immediately I do that, I spread the color a little bit with a damp clean brush. You see, the texture anywhere that I indicated texture is along the edge. That's where you do any textural work. Usually. I could have made it totally soft. His hair is all about softness. Wow, it's looking really good, if I may say so. Okay. now. Should I work on the nose? Nose is really hard. But I think I'm gonna darken that deepen. This is Moon Glow. Moon Glow is like the darkest color I'll use on a face. Granulate very carefully. Spread it. This is Mineral Violet. Mineral Violet. The eyes have dried probably. So with the no, that's Perlin Green. On the palette they look exactly the same. This is neutral tint. This eye, his left eye is slightly floating. There's a little white of the eye showing. His face is not exactly perfectly symmetrical. Very rarely it is so. There is no flaw. This is a very handsome child. But your job is to observe that and paint faithfully. If you do that, the person will just emerge like magic. And I'm not doing any lashes. Okay, with the damp brush, see, this point is just to die for. So if you want to brush like this, your brush is giving you a lot of headache. Look, Winsor Newton sable brushes, they're good, but not any sable. Pointed round. It is called Winsor Newton sable pointed round brushes, size 6 or 8 or both. If you have a really good brush with the fabulous tips like this, you don't need small brushes. If you have two like that. So I use this brush, and I have a size 8 brush. This is oh, that's size 6. Wow, it looks very fat. Size 8. Yeah, that's Winsor Newton Series 7. Yeah, I think size 8. Kolinsky. Fabulous point. They're expensive, so really good alternatives are Winsor Newton sable, pointy round, size 6 and 8. There are only about 4 sizes for that pointy round. Do not just buy any round, buy pointy round. The points will wear out, but you know. Yeah, I said I was gonna work on the nose, but I'm working on something else, right? Because when I see something, I work on it. So I'm gonna work on that area to make the eye in the shadow darker, cool shadow. This should be a little darker, like that. Why? Because eyes are round. And extend the shadow cast by lashes. Core shadow. Let's use some pigmentite and mineral violet. Do not use Winsor violet. I already said it, right? I'm emphasizing it. And do not underline lower lash line, please. I beg you. Now I'm extending it. That reflect light, you can indicate it with, re-indicate it already has been painted with the cad red, because cad red is lighter. So why do I have all these different paints? I don't know. I have 60-80 paints. I don't use them all. So these two palettes have 44. I use a few more on a semi-regular basis, but with this 44 I can paint almost everything. Why do I have so many? Because I said earlier, when you're painting, you just don't have the time to mix the correct color. I have several violets because there are many different violets, you know, warm violet, cool violet. Okay, this, you see that? Very vague, soft edged, but shapes nonetheless. So the ability to see those shapes and ability to render them in paint, that is what you are learning in portrait class. If you're interested in learning to paint, that's piemontite genuine, learning to paint portraits, I think taking a class will be a good idea. I'm teaching it Thursday afternoon, 1 to 4. Yeah, and then on one more class, Tuesday, 7 to 9:30. The registration has started at the Art League School. So now I painted the nose wing by painting its cast shadow and foam shadow. Cast shadow is cast by the form, and foam shadow is what is on the form. Okay, more red. That's just cad red with lots of water. Here it's still dry. That's gonna be a big problem because probably I shouldn't have done that. We'll have a lot of cauliflowers. Oopsie. It happens. No worries. Keep calm. And drink something. Yeah, there are lots of cauliflowers. If you don't want any cauliflowers, you have to keep using your hairdryer and move on to the next area. I know what a hassle would that be. So, yeah, let's leave this area alone temporarily. That's the solution. Okay, I am painting the cutie pie nose. Nostrils should be, they are dark. I know they are dark, but they shouldn't be really dark so that they appear like a pig's nose. Go with this and see if it's dark enough. And I don't know if you can see it, there is the really recessed areas, real dark, and then it's immediately joined by shadow shape. The other side, not as dark. Mineral violet. Yep, it's silhouette. Not a good idea to go in there and mess with it. Oof. A little bit more of cat red. I already painted that channel in between tip of nose and upper lip. Look at his lips. Generally, almost always, lower lip is much thicker, plumper than upper lip, regardless of age, but his upper lip is so big. I think it's bigger than his lower lip. So because it's drying, I'm gonna paint his lighter chin, right side, his left chin. Gosh, it's so complicated to verbalize painting process, which is what the right side of the brain does, and try to verbalize it using your left side of the brain. It's very confusing. Do you know that? Okay, that was cat red, and immediately I saw a little pinkish color, so I translated as with Helios Purple by Sennelier. If it were a Caucasian child, I would have used Permanent Rose. So the most commonly used color in a skin tone, anyways, is cadmium red for me. Other artists may use different colors for warm tone, and if it gets a little cooler or in shadow, I use Permanent Rose. But if it is darker skin tone person, I'll use Helios Purple. I searched far and wide for the right magenta color. Magenta colors, permanent magenta, or quinacridone magenta. Many different brands, far and wide. Very disappointing until I found this Sennelier's Helios Purple. Helios means sun, right? In Greek. My search ended because I was finally happy. I could rest. And it's been, I don't know how many years. Many years. It remains my favorite magenta color or fuchsia color. It dries. It's lovely when you paint. Put down first, and it dries lovely instead of a dull. All the other magenta colors I tried dried dull. Watercolor has that tendency. That is Piemontite genuine cat red. I hope I'm sure you have observed that watercolor dries duller and lighter. When you put it down, when the paint is still wet, it's just so gorgeous. And as it dries, it loses that gorgeousness often. Okay, this side of that brow is much darker. I don't know how long I've been going. Oof. I'm suddenly seeing more brown, so on that side of that eye. Maybe I'll make the edges soft. Maybe I'll make the the shadows cast by lashes a little darker with a mineral violet. So overall, what happens is the painting will be a little lighter in terms of value, maybe by 1. Shadow areas maybe by the factor of 2. You know, the values range from number 1, the darkest, to number 10, the lightest, right? And it's more luminous, it has more colors, more colorful, a little lighter, especially shadows. I think my shadow is a little lighter, and it's more colorful. Yeah, we did how to mix rich darks, right, in class, and I used store-bought darks here. I'm sorry about that, but you know, that's what happens. That is mineral violet. So I'm using lots of granulating colors on his skin tone. I don't usually do that. So, and violet is very easy to mix with some kind of pinkish color like a rose and either cobalt blue or French ultramarine blue will make beautiful violets. We did that first exercise in the first week, right? Those exercises are really, really, really important exercises. So if you are in my watercolor from start to finish, I advise you to repeat the class at least one time, and you understand really what I'm talking about. Some students repeat it several times, and every time you're getting better. Okay, so I darkened the nostrils, right? Nostrils with Moon Glow. Moon Glow is a warm dark. Do not use indigo or Payne's gray because he's alive. There's blood coursing through his veins, right? Do not use cool darks. If you don't have Moon Glow, you can very easily mix it with a French ultramarine blue, alizarin crimson, and a little viridian granulates too. It looks exactly like Windsor green, red shade, but it's very soft color. Okay, let's do something about the mouth. This is a lip divider line. Very dark, right? So I'm using warm dark. I could have mixed my own color, but I'm just using Moon Glow. So 3 darkest areas in the face is the upper lash lines. Pupils are black. Nostrils are fairly dark, and if the mouth is closed, that center line, lip divider line, it's called lip divider line. And the corners are very dark. And if you have a burnt umber, you can mix burnt umber with alizarin crimson, then you get really deep dark with just a little bit of water. Now, just like everything else in the face, mouth is also round, right? So you have a center plane and 2 side planes. Side planes are darker, right? Because they're sloping. If you look at the picture, this side plane in the shadow side is darker considerably than the side plane on the sunlit side. Upper lip is usually much darker than lower lip, which catches light usually, but in his case, the upper lip is so plump, it's fairly light. There's a lot of redness in it. I don't see much rosiness in there, so I'm gonna use Cad Red. You see, not a lot, just a little bit. If it's too red, well, I eat my word. I'm gonna introduce a little permanent rose, right? Yeah, definitely. The lower lip itself rounds like this. The area that is catching light, that's highlight, and right underneath is cool, and it becomes a little redder. I don't know if you can, a little warmer. Rose is cooler than red. And as soon as you do that, you extend it. Extend it. Do not draw a mouth like he's wearing he's a clown, you know, with a very strong colored lipstick. Whenever possible, like this. We did that in the eyebrows, you know, hairline, everywhere, right? Do not paint lining portrait. That's no. This is piemontite brown. Wow. How about some mineral violet? Because it looks really violetish, right? Violet is right next to red, right? On the color wheel. And what is brown? It's a deep neutralized orange, which is red. And I am extending like this, mineral violet. Wow. Did you see that? I hope you saw it. And the upper lip is casting shadow. So I'm going to use alizarin crimson. I haven't used it yet, right? It's very cool red, much darker than inherently. Cad red. You know, you can see sometimes dark colors are really hard to tell. This is my neutral tint, and this is perylene green. This is cadmium red. You put that right next to this. That's alizarin crimson. Same brand, neutral. Winsor Newton. You see how much darker it is? Value. Lightest and gets darker. So warmer, and then start getting cooler. That's how I like to arrange my palette. Easier. Because it's physically arranged that way. It's not just a concept. I like to see it. Okay, more violet next to, and I'm going to extend it, pull it again. Or maybe I shouldn't have done it because it's still drying. And right next to the lower lip, you see that ledge, very dark. Always, when this light is coming from below, which is not very common. It happens on a stage, very theatrical lighting. Okay, working on the upper lip. The upper lip itself is like rounded, right? Like this. It's like a pillow. So the lower half is reflecting a lot of light from this sweater and stuff. But maybe it should be a little warmer than that. I put down lots of red. So maybe I'm switching to rose. Charging. And I preserved catch light, right? Upper lip has two parts. This one half and the other half. And it's very clear division. So I'm mixing rose with red. When you cannot really determine is it rose or is it red, well, just mix them together. You can mix reds, you can mix blues. Okay, I see more red. This side is Helios purplish. And I'm gonna, this is alizarin crimson extend. I had mixed that color earlier with the cad red with teeny tiny bit of a cobalt blue. So I'm gonna mix more of that. Tiny bit of cobalt blue, which neutralize immediately. So this is that color. A lot redder than burnt sienna, like that. You see how dark? I need to model his right side cheek. And immediately I see this blue. When you see it, you paint it. Then I was thinking, oh, I have to mix more color. What trouble. Well, that was way too blue, right? So I'm gonna mix on the paper. This is a beautiful child. You have a obligation to paint him beautifully. As best as you can. So now the blue that I dumped doesn't look so offensive. Now I see some Helios purple, tiny bit, extended, no hard edges if I can manage. Not easy. If it hard edges form, don't despair. It's not easy. Maybe a little more red too. Cad red. A little more of that the red mixture I made. That is such a beautiful color. Every day I have a new favorite color. It's today a mixture of a cad red with cobalt green. Cobalt green is just like cobalt blue, except it's green. Just right in the middle of green, not too cool, not too warm, and behaves exactly the same way. Okay, the Schminke Naples yellow reddish, the foundation color right there. It's all over. I don't want the skin to be too, it should be a little toned. This light area is the initial wash I observed, and I made sure it remained light. I'm giving a little more tone with my foundation color, which is Schminke's Naples yellow reddish. That is cad red. I saw a little redness there. In the tear duct, you usually see a glimmer because there is moisture. So, how to indicate? On the other side, you don't really see that. It's much darker too because that side is in shadow. That is observation, So let's tackle. So what I have here is reflected light coming from the right, and he also has a very downy face because he's so young. The water has become a little dirty. I can replace it with the clean water. So what I'm gonna do is I can just leave it as is with my lifting brush. You have seen my lifting brush. It's an oil painter's brush. I bought it at Michael's. It's called Bright. The short flat brushes are called Bright. by oil painters. So any brush will do. It doesn't have to be this. But it has. Do not use the watercolorist scrubbing brush. It's just way too harsh. So I'm sort of softening that edge. So it is indicated, but it's not too harsh, not too abrupt. Okay. So face. How about that? The shoulder. I may want to soften the edge because there is no line. In nature, there is no line. Who said that? Paul Cézanne. Just I pull the color, so that's done. Okay, what else do I need to do? Yeah, I'm not gonna develop the sweater. I'm sorry. Did you miss anything? Sorry. He's looking really good, right? Yeah, I think this needs to be developed. It's a little wet. Let's I don't know how long I've been working. It's gonna be 2 hours long. Gosh. How long will it take to upload on YouTube? I don't know. How many people will watch the entire video? I don't know. I tried. So I'm gonna work a little more on the nose and the mouth. Yeah, my painting is definitely lighter than the photograph. I can develop the core shadow. I may do that off camera. So I observed that maybe this cheek should have more tone. Cat red. There's a little bit of a foam shadow which I did earlier with cobalt blue. This is a reflected light. You really have to indicate reflected light. A little more tone, a little more tone. You can use a little more tone everywhere. Actually, forehead too. So quickly rinse the brush. So the first layer is most nerve-wracking, and as you go on to the second, third, fourth, fifth layer, it's not as nerve-wracking. You're just building on tone, building up tone, or changing temperature a little bit. It's a little bit of pigmentite, genuine tiny bit. Here it has to be a little darker. Let's use the same color, pigmentite, a lot of water. Pulling it. You can right next to it, there is cat red. Usually the bottom lip, the side planes, they basically connect to the chin. It looks more natural like that. Here, upper lip corner, I think should be a little darker. There was moon glow. The other side as well, darker. It'll make the lip appear more three-dimensional. Same color, moon glow. Maybe that is too abrupt value change, so I switch to cobalt blue. You can use a little bit of alizarin crimson. So I'm using colors a lot straight from the palette, and if I'm using muted color, they're kind of out of tube, so I'm sorry about that if you have very limited palette. Honestly, those colors can be all mixed if you have 10 colors, except cobalt turquoise light. You cannot mix that color, or cobalt green. So you keep buying more paint. Buying paint is not a bad thing. If you are just hoarding it, it is. But if you are like me, using them, getting familiar with them, that's perfectly good thing. So portrait painting is the, I think, ultimate thing in any medium, and not all painters paint portrait, because they are not easy. Portraits are not easy. It takes really years of training. Just drawing alone. Oh, you say, oh, I'll just trace it. You can't always trace. You have to. That is why I do daily drawing practice. Draw every day, or nearly every day. I sometimes take a break, you know. I have gone through many sketchbooks, because drawing skills are the foundation, because drawing is seeing. Sounds like no fun. It is a lot of fun. Drawing is fun. So you're watching my video, follow my YouTube channel. I'll make lots of videos, flip through videos, my journals and sketchbooks to inspire you. I practice what I preach. And occasionally something like this, if I didn't have time to finish the class demo. The school doesn't want teachers to do this because, you know, they want students to take the class, right? But occasionally I may. So I'm adding just a tone here and there, deepening. That was mineral violet. Mineral violet will be very similar to French ultramarine blue with I don't know, cad red. It's kind of warm violet. Okay, that deep dark tone, the concha area on the ear. I pulled out the big gun, Windsor Violet. Windsor Violet, not in the face, but you know, for dark like that. You can also use Winsor Newton Windsor Green, the shade, with a little bit of alizarin crimson, which makes near black dark, right? If you have that color. What is important is whatever color you use, it should be warm and it should be very dark. Do not be afraid of darks. Without darks, painting lacks that oomph. I'm using the color under the lash line. It's very reddish color as is. I can add more violet, but without darks, painting lacks that punch. the lower lash line. This cheek has to become a little deeper. It's 12:54 now. You know, because I'm painting flat, I have no idea what it looks like really. I'm just hoping it looks good enough. Because this, through this toning, modeling, his facial likeness also emerge. It's not just adding more paint. No, I'm also painting him. A little more tone. Maybe that's too red. How did I make it a little brownish? A little green. But if you add too much green, it becomes green. It's just a careful balance between, is it too green, is it too red? And a little bit of Helios purple. Very cool. Yes. He looks brown, but he has a lot of cool undertone. That's the thing. Yes. And connected brow. Dark shape. You see, I'm holding brush like this because I'm just painting big shapes. It's a painterly hold. Cool shadow coming down. So what color should I use? I'm gonna use violet. I'm gonna be really bold. Oh wow, did you see that? How bold I was? So first layer I could not have done that. So that is a brush with a little bit of that brown color I mixed. And if you leave it like this, you'll have a hard edge forming, and we don't want that, right? So this is just red. Yeah, I have used a lot of red in this painting, but does he appear red? Not really, he just looks healthy. Yeah. Go into the nose. This is the bottom plane of the nose, right? Everything connecting back to a cobalt violet. Shadow. More shadow. Connecting. Washes. Into the shadow of the shadow side of the mouth. Maybe a little bit of pigmentite genuine. That. Too granulating maybe. Even if I have, even if I did more layers, it is still lighter than the neck, right? Which is really, really dark. So value is all about, it's relative. Now I switch to cat red. So I'm not stopping my brush stroke anywhere. It may have a little bit of tone, in this case cat red. I'm continuing to paint, and it's all dry, so there's no danger of creating, maybe that is a little too dark. There was a moon glow or something. So back to mineral violet. And I'm doing sort of a counterclockwise circumnavigation of his head. His beautiful head. I wonder where he's from. He may be just African. I found this picture on Pinterest maybe. I wonder how old he is, where he lives, how old he is, what kind of life he has. I wish him a happy life, good education, good health, happy childhood. and prosperous adulthood. I love him. So a little more cobalt violet. So this became longer demo than I had expected, but well, so be it. I didn't even get to do, the clothes. The hair looked just fine. I'm very happy about that. So I'll leave it just as is and look at it another day and see does he need more tone, and work on his sweater. So how long does this 12 by 9 portrait take? Now I did a drawing. They're like an hour and a half, and I traced it, and 2 hours in class, an hour before the class, 2 hours here. Yeah, several days of, because I cannot do the whole thing in one session because people do get tired. Yeah, it looks good. I'm staring at the my phone upside down. It looks good. It looks good. So thank you for watching this long demo, real time. Like the video and subscribe. That's what they say, right? YouTubers. And I'll be back. Thank you. Bye bye.